Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframing Mindset podcast. My name is Carson Brooks, and this episode I talk about hiring an assistant. Because what I realize is that doing most of these stuff is taking a lot of time, and not only a lot of time is more opportunities are coming. So in a sense that it's taking up a lot of time, it's just that more opportunities are coming, and then I see ways to actually expand certain things. I know all those things, you know, are starting to make sense. Like for example, getting hiring an assistant because if you want to turn to a business, if you want to turn anything or such to a business or such, you have to hire people. So, going through the experience of being an employee, I understand what it takes, and then now I've grown as a person. So, what I've learned, I've been a leader before, but it was not a leader for like a business where you're getting paid or have incentive. It was for something free. And I was a different person then. If you listen to go back way back when I was in university and doing my domestic affairs, um, chairperson activities. And I was a student leader there, and I was pretty not comfortable being that. And one of the reasons was that because of the type of work, and in the sense the thing was, you know, the convincing people to actually do that work. I was a person. I was a person that okay, say I want to do something, so I will put in the work. But then to actually kind of get people to actually want to do it, especially if that's a word that I'm actually want to do, it was not that. it was that was not me. But eventually, I find a core set of people that actually buy into the vision. I know we actually worked out, and the vision was accomplished, and that was kind of accomplished. But now I'm in a better situation again now, where I could do something similar. But now it'll be for the work that I want them to do, and then there's other incentives that I could actually offer. Not at this time, because not at this time because I'm not working. I have that much money, but if I were to actually do it now, I can actually do that. Hire assistant to do certain things to actually lay off certain workload. And when you lay off certain workload now, then you can focus on doing something else. But the thing about it is that hiring, getting someone that you can trust to hire, that's something hard because I said you have your dream thing that you want to build, but it's in every organization, everything, you're gonna learn that there's always bad eggs. I could be a bad egg as well. I could be that that's a lackadaisical leader as well, and such, and such. But it's just one of those things where this is an interesting phase now because I ain't saying I could be a bad egg. I literally could be that person because that's not the lead. The thing about when I was doing the 9 to 5 as well was that it's a commitment. So you have to be committed to the role. So when you hire an assistant, you have to be committed to be like, oh my God, I am going to lead this person to actually give me work, and they depended on me now to actually give them opportunities for this work because that's the only reason they want to become an assistant. So that's the thing. I uh, the commitment. That's another. You have it is as I said, everything's a mindset. You can't just wake up one day and be like, oh my god, ready to get an assistant and be like, well, no, it has to be a working relationship. and it has to be correct. And if you listen to previous episode where I speak about my grandmother and then the queen, other people, people, 90 years or such like that. In your older years as well, doing the work that I just came out, in people in their older years, what they have are more established careers. They have assistants. They have assistants. Those are higher people that I'm having assistants. And the thing about it is that I can't tell if they actually trust the assistants or not, but they trust them enough to do certain things for them, like certain things, certain assistants do with the health stuff, some certain deal with their business for entertainment, because those are the two things I actually dealt with. And what I realized was, you can have assistants for those, but you have to actually enable a sense of trust and such, and that aspect haven't figured out as yet. That's the thing. Like, for example, starting a business, I can give you all the things to starting a business, but employee trust, getting an employee to buy into your vision when they have their vision as well. That's something you have to actually be able to learn as well. Because the thing about it is that when you establish your business and company, and then, for example, my situation, I have a goal that I want to achieve, and when I got this work, I said, okay, I'm gonna do my best to learn to learn what it is like to be an employee. So I'm gonna go out there and do my best. But that's an established company. That's an established company. Their role now is to actually act, is someone dream manifested, and then boom, they say, okay, I can actually offer you employment and give you money. So, but as long as you do those stuff, but that's a business that has comes from like over 25 year around 25 years, because it started in 1997 and evolved into what it is now. So it's similarly with a assistant. You know, you have to be able to actually develop new levels of trust each year as you build it. So what I have to figure out is that I have to figure out what have to learn is the different tasks that I want to actually outsource, and then get someone that I say, okay, are you willing to actually be my assistant to actually deal with this? And then, yeah, but I have to actually be able to actually give them something else as well, because about it, I don't want it to be a case where you're my if I'm hiring you, you're reliant on me forever. I want to be like, okay, I'm ready to actually do, done with this project. Or I person be like, okay, I'm ready to move on, and you can be like, okay, yeah, you can move on, and then give me, and then I can just basically just no. But the thing about that as well, if you're getting to move on, then you have to rebuild a relationship with someone else as well. So it's like I said, hiring assistance is really not as simple, but I reached this far, and that is something I am going to look into. I don't know how it's going to manifest as yet, but that is something I am going to look into. I just never know how it's going to happen. Just never going to know what's going to happen. But look out. So look out. So that's one of the. So that's and I guess that maybe at 2020, late 2024, maybe 2025 kind of goal. That's the 2025 or late 2024 goal. So that's basically it for this episode. I don't know how it's going to happen, but when it's manifested and thing, what I guess what I could basically give you initial things, but I guess to really give you a better thing, I would be like, okay, I would have to have had this assistant for like 10 years. I would have it for 10 years now. Then I could be like, okay, I even what would be worse would be that this assistant, this future assistant would actually listen to this episode and be like faking it until the 10 year and be like, yeah, what the example is that what I have the idea now. How it's going to be manifested, I don't know yet. Just like everything in my life, I don't know. I have the idea. You don't know how it's going to manifest it. But one day it's going to manifest, and then what will happen is that I could just basically reverse engineer the process to actually reach that point and be like, okay, this is why this assistant was good and such, and why how I got here, so that you can actually have this situation easier than me. And so that those are things you have to look into to actually break cycles, break curse, and actually change up the thing. To It's one way to say, okay, you're gonna make money to achieve your dreams. But you have to reach a point where you'll be like, okay, you have to invest, you have to do certain things differently. If you want to be a business owner, you have to hire employees and such. So if I want to really take it to the next level, I have to actually outsource certain things. Like for example, maybe one day I will have, like, there are people that have cleaners at the work that I had. They were actually janitors and stuff, and they were respected, and well, I respect them and such, because what I realized is that each part is important. And then the thing about it as well is that you may reach a future, just like in my reality you have an artificial intelligence. You may reach a future where you do not actually need those janitors and stuff again, where you basically have AI robotics just basically cleaning up the place or doing those checks, doing those security checks as well. And then you can basically upgrade them to something else, just like how I I did not start here. You did not. I started from small primary school, then high school, and evolution. So it's like that kind of made me realize that, okay, and it's something else you're gonna reference in another episode, is that you have to actually, you're not going to start at the top. You're not gonna. So you're gonna. So what this episode is be like? I did not start it out with assistant. I did not start out with this big production company or stuff like that. I started off with my phone, and then boom, as I go along and say like, okay, I can actually make some more changes. No, you're gonna be like, you're gonna hear episode where you'll be like, oh my god, I got this assistant doing certain things and certain things. And be like, how did I actually do that? But not realizing that, okay, it took the time to actually say, okay, what is this assistant thing going to be about, and then actually do that and provide that opportunity. And one thing about the opportunity is that I'm in a position now where I can upskill persons. So when they come in now and doing this, I could actually upskill them, and then and then what happened is that I could be a reference. So like, oh, I left this work and I got a reference to actually I could be a reference to future employment. And when they call me and be like, okay, yes, this person was a very great assistant. So that's the thing now. In my adulthood, I could be me hiring an assistant. I can be a plug to someone else to actually advance themselves. That's how it goes. And what happened is that by me doing that, what I can actually do is I could give someone very young that would maybe be in my position. So when I was younger, I had to struggle to figure out how to get these things going on. Me hiring an assistant, young person fresh out of college or stuff like that, can get them head start way faster than I did, way faster than I did, just because I am learning the stuff now. And then boom, they see me in action and then actively doing it. And I speak about it, who actually implemented this idea that I actually saw when I left university was Gary V, a podcaster as well as stuff that I actually actively watched and way before I started this podcast and go on this journey. Gary Vee actually did that, and then boom, have this big company and such. And what he did was basically what I'm saying in this episode: have a culture of basically creating creating his dream, but hiring people to actually assist him achieve his dream, but empowering them as well, so that okay, if they want to leave, they can basically just evolve and go and leave. That's so so I see what happens that I usually see that and be like, okay, I would like that, but I can't do it. But no, I'm in a position now where I could actually basically do that. So that could be the start off the KRV. So that's how what you have to do is like you don't start at the top. You're gonna see people at the top doing it and then realize that okay, they start at the bottom as well. And then but you what you are seeing is that they're vision at the top then, and then you'll be like, okay, I can't do that now, but I can do certain small things. And when you do certain small things, eventually you're gonna reach a point where you get to this episode and be like, okay, I see the vision now of getting us of why I would need assistance. Where because when you're just starting, you want if you're doing something to make money, hiring assistant would be one of the kind of bad thing to actually do because what is it? You don't know if you're going to last long in this thing. And the thing about this podcast is that it has last a long time, a long time. Uh, so I'm very grateful for that. So because it's last this long time, I'm in a new phase now where I can do more bigger investment, an investment like this where could hire assistant. You know, if I did that from the beginning and then the podcast flopped, like it's not where it is now. It's not a profitable thing. So it's like one of those things where like, if it's not a profitable thing and I hire assistants, I'm actually losing money. I'm actually losing money. So why that's why this episode here is that you hear me say I'm going to hire us. I like to hire assistant, but it's not going to happen immediately. It's just the thing that throwing out the idea now, and then you see how that manifested in the future. And then when you understand how it manifests, you'll be like, okay, then I can actually reciprocate that. So that's basically it for this episode. Yeah, hiring assistant will be something I'm looking into. So um, you never know. You can always send in your request from now on the Reframe Mindset Podcast Instagram page or on the Twitter page if you want to become an assistant. And y- you never know. You may be that person. You may, and it may not be for you for the podcast. It be for something else because as I said the assistants would not be in for certain things. Like I can't really hire assistants yet for the podcast. There are certain things that I want to would hire for the podcast or such, but not yet. Not yet. I'm not making that much money as yet. It will be for personal stuff or basic stuff. Like for example, they so I said so if you are interested in the assistant role, you can always send in your email and then boom, you never know where this thing will go. You never know where this thing will go. That's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode. Mhm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.